guys have Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackie and Judd on SKOR North and SKORNorth.
We've talked a lot this week about we're still hunting that consistent four-quarter performance that doesn't necessarily, I think sometimes people want it to equal scoreboard points, and it just makes sense to everybody. It's not always going to make sense, but in the end, if we do the little things well and we rely on our team we've built, philosophies we've built, and then a lot of the little things that we coach really hard and our players own from a standpoint of how to win in this league, I think that's what I'm looking for. Complete means a lot of things to a lot of different people, but I think it's still out there for us.
Making an appearance here on Reckless Speculation Thursday. We welcome our friend from the 5 Eyewitness News Sports Department and the Scoop Podcast, Darren Doogie Wolfson. Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday, sir.
Happy Reckless Speculation Thursday, Phil. Hello, Judd. Hello, Declan. So right after, or maybe it was right before that Kevin O'Connell soundbite that welcomed us into this segment, I was out there on Wednesday. Greg Joseph, so that was in the indoor field, the indoor facility. Greg Joseph was practicing field goals. He sent one. Normally it's wide right, but in this case it was wide left.
Oh, he's overcompensating.
Hit a scoreboard right above Kevin and ricocheted, and it could have taken out one of us in the media, which for some, that may have been, yippee, right? Like, how did it not take out Dukes or Chris Thomason or somebody else? But
maybe he was
Greg Joseph going wide left.
He's aiming at the haters.
Correct. Maybe it was Greg aiming at the haters. You're right. It was by design that he pulled that kick left, hoping it would ricochet and hit somebody in the face.
Can we not find a room for a press conference, though, that's not around a live football being kicked? Like, that's Winter Park days, right?
I agree. Trust me, there are many spots we could do it there at TCO. I get it. Like, coaches don't come in the locker room. That's not their thing.
Right.
And so the makeshift podium they set up in the Vikings locker room, like, right before Kevin, we spoke with Kirk Cousins, Dalvin Cook, the Walter Payton Man of the Year for the Vikings, Adam Thielen. So they approach a makeshift podium in the actual locker room. So I get it. Kevin O'Connell doesn't want to invade the locker room. That's the player's sanctuary. But yes, there has to be a better option than the practice field, as Greg Joseph is attempting field goals, as Ryan Wright is booming punts. Yes, I am with you on that, Judd.
Thank you.
So for people that are new on Thursdays, Reckless Speculation Thursday, we do a couple things. We take an inside look, inside information about Minnesota sports teams through Doogie. And we speculate, sometimes recklessly, sometimes educated speculation on things that may or may not happen. Could be trades, could be injuries, could be any number of things. It's a safe space to speculate on Thursdays. Let's start with injuries here. So, there's a couple different paths to go down. Number one, it looks like half the roster for the Vikings has an illness designation. Danielle Hunter, illness. Patrick Peterson, Harrison Smith, C.J. Ham. And then you got Christian Darrisaw still in concussion protocol. I'd love to start with him. Do we have any feel at all for when Christian Darrisaw could take the field again? Is there a chance he's out for the season, Doogie?
I don't foresee him being out for the season, Phil, but knowing you would bring up his name in this space this morning, I chased an update about 2.5 hours ago. I've been up for a while. The boys had an 8 a.m. dentist appointment, so been up for a bit. I was told, as of early this morning now, he hadn't even been over to Egan yet. So I guess it's possible he clears that final hurdle later today. But he was still in the protocol as of this morning. But in terms of him missing the entire season, no, Phil, that would shock me. On the guys being sick, I was told as of now, no COVID, so I guess that's good news. Although I'll tell you, as I'm walking out of the practice field on Wednesday, a coach was walking in. I won't name the coach, but not Kevin, but an assistant coach walking in was hacking up a lung, just didn't look right. And I saw somebody from a distance shout, "Hey, coach, I hope you feel better." So clearly something is going around over there at TCO Performance Center.
Cam Dantzler, back at practice. It sounds like the plan is, barring a setback, for him to be back on Sunday. Is that correct? Because that is correct.
Now, Wednesdays now will be walkthroughs. Like they're not going any sort of, hard practice on Wednesdays. So that is a thing here now as we're into December. They are not going to go hard on Wednesdays. So Wednesday was a walkthrough, but Cam Dantzler was out there. Our cameras captured some video. He was smiling. He looked good, stretching, moving around a little bit, but we'll have a better feel. He'll practice fully today, see how that ankle responds tomorrow, Friday. But yes, all signs point to Cam Dantzler Sr. being back on the field Sunday in Detroit, a redemption game when you think about Cam Dantzler last year in Detroit.
Yeah. We've been talking about Justin Jefferson a lot. I know the contract discussion has come up with him. Is there any doubt he's going to become the highest paid wide receiver? But that money doesn't really kick in for another, I guess it would be after the 2024 season, right? Is there any doubt that they won't? I mean, they're going to just pay him, right? He's going to be
zero doubt. Yes. I mean, write that down, not with a pencil, with a Sharpie, right? Whatever ink you want to use. Yes, the Vikings are going to make Justin Jefferson the highest paid receiver in the game. Now, heck, it might be a contract 3 months later or 6 months later or 9 months later that trumps the deal he signs. But when he puts pen to paper, yes, it will be the richest contract for a wide receiver in NFL history. One other injury note, Irv Smith Jr. is going to be back at some point. Don't know if it'll be January 1st in Green Bay or January 8th in Chicago, but signs point to him being back before the end of the regular season. Kevin O'Connell hinted at that on Wednesday.
Here's my follow-up to the Justin Jefferson thing. If we all agree he's going to make $30 million a year, whatever it's going to be, how does that contract impact other roster decisions and other veterans or borderline veterans on this team? The quarterback, Kirk Cousins' contract comes off the books if they don't extend him after 2023, for instance. As you survey this thing, how does Jefferson's contract, what are the ramifications further down the roster?
Well, I mean, the cap is going up, right? So it's not like they need to do all sorts of gymnastics, but, you would take a look at Harrison Smith, you would take a look at Eric Kendricks, you would take a look at Dalvin Cook. Those three guys stand out to me. Adam Thielen here for one more year, but hard to see Adam Thielen here 2024 and beyond. But after this year, just the way the contract is structured, signs point to Adam Thielen being here in 2023. But I would certainly take a look at Kendrick, Smith, Cook.
I think on the contract too, since as Phil said, it would kick in 2025. It's actually a perfect place to divorce players who are now on the roster, i.e. Cook, Thielen. So it will, because you've still got the fourth year, and then the Vikings will exercise the fifth year option. It makes a lot of sense that creates a perfect place to go in a different direction. And that also might be, if they extend Kirk through 2024 eventually here, that also, Dukes, might be a place where you do at least sort of have to hit a reset button a bit. Not because you want to get bad, because just at some point, there's going to have to be a turnover. Your draft classes, this year's draft class, are going to have to start to contribute. So it sort of creates a natural progression the first year of Jefferson's huge contract that he then becomes the highest paid player on the team. And you have turnover that absolutely has to happen at some point.
I agree. Now, on the succession plan with Adam Thielen, I'll be shocked. I know it's very early to do any sort of mock draft, although who knows? Maybe for you guys it's not that early. But whether it's their first pick or their second pick, I can see them going wide receiver very early next April. You think about this past April, if Garrett Wilson, who just put on a phenomenal performance at US Bank Stadium, if he somehow had fallen to 12, the Vikings were highly, highly interested. Judd, I remember you had some Drake London's team who went above 12 to the Atlanta Falcons, the wide receiver from USC. Yeah, the Vikings had some interest in Jamison Williams, but they were looking for more of an immediate impact, knowing that Williams would miss a majority of the season. Looks like he'll actually play on Sunday finally, although who knows how many snaps. The belief was Jamison Williams was going to miss all or most of this year, the wide receiver from Alabama. But the Vikings studied wide receivers so hard early last April, early in terms of, one of those first couple picks that, with them not going wide receiver, with one of those first couple picks in April, I can see it happening next April.
It's kind of an abbreviated scoop session here, so we're going to fly through some other things in just a moment. But a shout out to our friends over at Federated Mutual Insurance Company for helping us power Mackie and Judd on a daily basis. They've been a great guiding hand helping power businesses for over 100 years, both in the state and outside the state of Minnesota. You can find a full list of industries Federated specializes in working with. It's like having a great offensive line for your business, just helping you through some of the choppy waters that can exist as a business owner. Federatedinsurance.com, where it's our business to protect yours.
Okay, so name drop. Let me name drop. The reason it's a shortened scoop session, I got to head out to Eagan. I got to head out to TCO Performance Center. I'm bonding with Bud Grant.
Nice.
Still going strong at 95 years old.
Man.
So, if people didn't see my Twitter, people that at least live in the Twin Cities viewing area, we, Channel 5 on the TV side, will televise the Vikings-Colts game on Saturday, December 17th, a noon game. So we at Channel 5 are going to do a pregame show 11 to 11:30. So a story I'll do in that pregame show. I think I'm just going to put the quarter in the machine and let Bud go, and I'll just make it a best of Bud Grant for 2.5 minutes. But the idea was to go catch up with Bud, so I'm doing that later today. His schedule said he had to do it today. I wasn't going to tell him no, so that's why I'm in a bit of a rush.
Dukes, first question. Get to the bottom of it. What happened in those 4 Super Bowls, Bud? We had our chance.
Do you feel like a failure, Bud?
Is your career defined by 0-4 when it mattered most?
But are we sure that you should have an honorary office here at TCO Performance Center? It's not like you won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Why are we doing this interview in Eagan? Why are we in your living room?
Hard hitting.
This
will get ratings. This will get ratings. Get Bud to walk off.
Wait, so how often does Bud go to his honorary office? Is he just like hanging out there, just drawing up plays, or what's he?
I'm not making this up. About once a week for a nice meal.
Okay,
Bud,
makes sense.
A nice free meal.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fair.
When Bud,
they have good food there.
When Bud came back to replace Steckel, part of the agreement was an office at Winter Park or the Vikings facility for the rest of Bud's life, basically.
Yeah,
as he should.
Right. Oh yeah, but
Hall of Famer, heck yeah, no problem with that.
But I love that.
And he slaps some people on the back. It's not like he just goes there, sits in his office, heads down to the cafeteria, then goes home. In fact, they're doing an event at the Vikings Museum next week, a night with Bud Grant, where people will get to bond with Bud and have a good time and have some appetizers and all that. So, Bud's trying to get out and about as much as possible.
All right, if you polled Vikings fans and said, hey, for the last month of the season and playoffs, who would you rather have as your defensive coordinator? Ed Donachelle or 95-year-old Bud Grant?
Bud.
I think Bud would get some votes. I think he would.
Well, are you kidding?
Bud.
He absolutely would get some votes. Yeah. Yeah, I might go Mike Pettin, but yeah, he would get some votes.
So, okay, I want to ask you about the PJ Fleck. Well, actually, I want to ask you about his weird reaction after the Iowa loss into the Wisconsin win, and then he pulls the old, my wife and I heard from so many people that all you have to do around here is beat Wisconsin and all you guys want me fired. It's like we actually went back and fact-checked his opening press conference from 5 years ago, 6 years ago.
I saw that, yeah.
In which he listed national championships, Big Ten West titles, Big Ten titles, and Rose Bowls. And no, I don't think anyone credible or anyone with half a brain is calling for his head. So he gets the extension. Is there not room? I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but is there not room to say both, hey, you deserve an extension and you are doing a good job, but you deserve some criticism because you can't beat Iowa. You failed to take advantage of a weak schedule and your quarterback play sucks. There's room for both. It doesn't mean he has to be fired if you want to criticize some of these things. Why can't we acknowledge the gray area?
You can acknowledge the gray area. There's plenty of gray area. Hey, we're thrilled that Brittany Griner has been released from prison in Russia, right? But in the same breath, we can say there's other prisoners being held captive in Russia, right? Including Whalen, right? So, we can have those discussions. I'd like to think we can have those discussions that it's not so black and white. So, yeah, there is some gray area. Phil, what you just said is spot on. Of PJ's 6 seasons, by far the most disappointing. The fact that they did not play last weekend is a fail. With that schedule, that is a fail. And if you want to point to the ball going off Michael Brown-Stevens' chest in the Purdue game, Mo not playing in the Purdue game, because all you had to do was really beat Purdue, right? And you would have been in Indianapolis. I'm not even quite sure. I mean, it's keeping up with the Joneses, right? PJ has a very shrewd agent, Kevin Harlan's brother, Brian Harlan. But really, where was PJ going? Like, did Mark Coyle really need to do this extension? Now, I get it. PJ signed his last extension 13 months ago. When he signed it, he was tied for 5th in the conference in terms of annual salary. Since then, Ferentz passes him by. The new coach at Wisconsin, new coach at Nebraska. Jeff Brom was going to get taken care of one way or another. Turns out he goes to his alma mater, Louisville, so doesn't sign a new deal at Purdue. But after taking the Boilermakers to the Big Ten championship game, he was going to get more money. There's a belief that Brett Bielema in Champaign will get more money. That Mel Tucker contract, that fully guaranteed contract at Michigan State, 10 years, $95 million, reset the entire thing, right? Because you'd much rather have PJ Fleck at $6 million than Mel Tucker at a guaranteed $95 million at $9.5 million a year. I will tell you this much, Phil. So I caught up with Marcus Allen, this Badgers receiver, who announced his commitment to the Gophers, had him on the Scoop podcast, left the conversation, talked to him for 21 minutes, left the conversation convinced he was going to really enjoy being a Gopher. Well, he decommitted yesterday, but in that conversation, he alluded to being sold on the offense changing, that what we've seen, this archaic approach, run as much as any Power 5 team the last 2 years, that occasionally you need to put the ball in the air, that Marcus was led to believe that PJ Kirk-Shiraka want to, starting next year, to go back to what we saw in 2019 with Rashad Bateman, with Tyler Johnson, airing the ball out more. So I'd like to think there's a shift, whether Marcus Allen is here or not. Clearly he's not going to be here at this point. Just a reminder of how crazy recruiting is. Who knows who got in his ear? A Gophers coach was with him earlier this week, right? And so the fact that a day later he announces his decommit, it's the optics are horrible. It's head scratching. I don't sense it's anything the Gophers did, but just a reminder of just how nuts recruiting is. But I'd like to think starting in 2023, we are going to see a shift. Heck, I thought we'd see it this year, right? So I was wrong on that. And I'll write that down, that the Gophers would pass certainly more, but I may have even said significantly more with Shiraka back in the picture, but it didn't happen. But I'd like to think it'll happen starting in 2023. But everything you said, Phil, is absolutely spot on. And I know enough Gophers fans that are just not happy, that are pissed off that he's 0-6 against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Nobody's calling for his head. I don't know one person, Phil. I really don't. Maybe there's a few, anonymous people on Gopher Hole or some other message board. But anybody credible, Phil, I don't know one person who has said the Gophers need to fire PJ Fleck.
I also think on this that the transition from Mason to Brewster has led me to believe that this program, like, who are you going to get? I guess my question is this.
I agree. I don't think you're doing any better than PJ Fleck.
If you fire Fleck tomorrow and you're like, we're going to go for it, who are you going to get? In retrospect,
you're not getting better than him. I'm just telling you, you're not.
And Glenn did, in retrospect, a fine job. Like, they had epic meltdowns. I get all that. But it's not like that stopped. So I guess I'm at a point in my life now where yes, Fleck deserves the heat that he got for this year. That being said, I have no interest in trying to go out now and improve on that unless you were going to go big game hunting, huge coaching name. And I don't think those guys are coming here.
Those guys are not coming here. But there is truth in what you're saying. I mean, really, deep down, how much is different today compared to the peak of Glenn Mason in 2003? And I get it. PJ Fleck's Big Ten winning percentage a bit better than Mace and certainly better than Kill, right? Fleck has a 10-win season. Kill never had a 10-win season. Mace had a 10-win season in 2003. But really, when you look at the totality of Gophers football for the last 20 years, how much is truly different outside of the infrastructure? Right. PJ Fleck has 1 million more staff members than any of those guys. And that's keeping up with the Joneses. That's not, hey, kudos to PJ for convincing the administration to hire, 45 new people. That was needed just to keep up with other programs. But the infrastructure now compared to the infrastructure in 2003 or even in 2014 is night and day. The facilities, everything. PJ Fleck has way more advantages than those guys. And I'm telling you, you want to look at win percentage? Yes. PJ trumps those guys. But I'm just saying, really, the totality of the last 20 years, there really hasn't been much change outside of Brewster dipping it down, a decent amount, 08, 09, 10, whatever that was. In that mix there, maybe it was more like 11, 12. But Brewster dipping it down, then Kill, bringing it back up enough.
Yeah. All right, Dukes, do your own clock management here. However, we want Twins scoops. There's been the Aaron Judge contract, so the Giants miss out on Judge. You've had the Xander Bogaerts contract. The Padres always looking to spend $250 million. So however long you have left here, give us what you know about the Twins and Carlos Correa and anybody. Dansby Swanson, is he an option?
Sure. Well, before I get to Correa, before I get to Dansby Swanson, the Twins have made free agent catcher Christian Vasquez an offer. I'm led to believe it's a 3-year offer that the Twins right now are not willing to go to 4. If they go to 4, I think Vasquez signs here. But right now, 3, somewhere in that $7.5 to $9 million a year range. So somewhere in that 3-year, $25, $27, $28 million range. So the Twins have made him a formal offer. They are waiting to hear back. The fact that they haven't heard back yet, maybe it's a bit troubling. He's got multiple offers he is weighing, but he is priority number 1 at the catcher position. If Vasquez chooses another team, they could pivot to Tucker Barnhart. They were never in on Wilson Contreras. Yes, they have talked with the A's and the Jays, but there are many teams in on Murphy with the A's. And, oh, by the way, the A's don't necessarily need to trade him. The path to acquiring a catcher, much easier, signing a free agent compared to completing a trade. All right, on Correa. So same agent as Xander Bogaerts. Late last night, Xander Bogaerts agrees to a deal with the San Diego Padres, 11 years, $280 million. Trey Turner, who was Philadelphia's number 1 choice, but they had dialogue with Carlos Correa, but I'm led to believe they got their number 1 guy. They prefer for the next 11 years Trey Turner over Carlos Correa. We can have that debate. I'm a huge Trey Turner fan. It's nitpicky, right? Like, you would be happy with either guy, maybe not at 11 years, but you'd be happy with either guy for certainly the next 6 or 7 years. But Trey Turner does, 11 years, $300 million. Okay, well, certainly the agent doing the Bogaerts deal, 11,280. We know that Scott is going to want to trump the Bogaerts contract for Correa. Correa, better player, younger player, all right? So that's the absolute baseline. Like, Correa is not accepting anything less than 11,280. And I can promise you, Trey Turner, represented by Creative Arts Agency, Scott is not taking a deal less than what Trey Turner got, right? So we're looking at more than 11 years and $300 million. So are the Twins willing to go as high as 11, 325, 330, maybe even a bit higher? Phil, I need to see it to truly believe it. The fact that the Giants swung and missed on Aaron Judge, that they are looking to acquire a shortstop, that they have a ton of money, that they have now spoken with Carlos Correa. So of the Cubs, I've been saying the Cubs since the summer, but to me, the top competition for the Twins on Correa is the San Francisco Giants. And I just think in the end, the Giants are going to offer more money.
Hal Steinbrenner got involved at the last minute with Aaron Judge. Those two guys sat down in person. Hey, what is it going to take? Any idea if Joe Polad is directly involved with Carlos Correa and Scott Boras?
Yeah, well, I don't know if he's spoken with Scott. He does have his fingerprints on these negotiations.
Okay.
I still need to quantify exactly to what extent, but yes, there absolutely is ownership involvement on this front. Yes.
Okay. There it is. Darren, we got to let you go talk to Bud Grant, go hobnob with the Vikings legends.
And Phil, people are asking me for a timeline on Correa. Here's what I'll say. He's taken multiple meetings, right? Twins, Giants, Cubs, Phillies, maybe more, right? Okay, so he's taken these meetings. Offers have been made. The Twins have spoken parameters of a deal with Scott back at the GM meetings, now here at the winter meeting. So parameters of offers have absolutely been discussed, not only with the Twins, but presumably some other teams as well. But I can sit here and quantify from the Twins standpoint that parameters of contracts have been discussed. The Twins remain open-minded on 10 years, 8 years, 6 years, maybe even less at a higher average annual value, multiple opt-outs, full no trade. The Twins are willing to play ball in that regard. I don't know right now if the Twins are willing to go to 11 years. I kind of think if it was we can re-sign him or we can't, why would you not go to that 11th year? If you're willing to go 10, why wouldn't you go to 11? but I don't necessarily have that answer. That's me more opining that if you're willing to do 10, which I know they are, why wouldn't you necessarily just go to 11 if you had to seal the deal? But I don't know the official timeline. Like, I can't sit here and tell you that by 4:03:23 seconds today, we'll know where Carlos Correa will play in 2023. I don't have a blow-by-blow like that. But the fact he has taken meetings, parameters of contracts have been discussed, it's hard for me to believe that this thing is going to extend many, many more weeks, right? Maybe it's another few days or even a couple weeks, but I'd like to think like by, who knows, by mid-January at the latest, there will be closure on the Correa front.
Great stuff, Doogie.
Thanks, dude.
One more, 5 NBA teams scouting the Gophers Michigan game tonight at the barn. I tweeted the names, but I don't remember what I tweeted. So let me look. It is the Toronto Raptors, the Denver Nuggets. It is the Grizzlies, Cavs, Rockets. Did I say all those teams? Rockets, Raptors, Grizzlies, Cavaliers, Nuggets. 5 NBA teams in the house at the barn tonight, 8 o'clock tip-off. Michigan and the Gophers.
Probably looking at mostly Michigan players there, I'm going to guess. But
well, yeah, Juwan Howard's son. Yeah, Jed Howard. Although I will tell you, Dawson Garcia, Jamison Battle will make money playing basketball. The question is it overseas? Or do they need to go the G League route and fight, scratch, claw to get to the NBA, sort of like Amir Coffey? But those guys are going to play professional basketball. So scouts are keeping an eye on those two Gophers.
Yeah. Thank you, Dukes. We'll see you next
see you,
week.
Boys. Bye-bye.
All right, Scoop Podcast with Doogie, bonus scoops on Mackey and Judd on Tuesdays. Judd, before we get into another celebratory night at Target Center last night, why don't you tell the people about the Sports Dad's new official sports bar, Park Tavern?
That's exactly right.
Weren't you there last night?
I was there last night talking to my good friend Dave from Surly. In fact, here's the exciting news. Park Tavern now in SLP has on tap Logic Bomb. Logic Bomb has been added, so you can go in there and you can get one of the official beers of Sports Dad at Sports Dad's official bar. It's fantastic. Located off of Louisiana Avenue South in St. Louis Park. It's been around for 42 years. Open 365 days a year. This is an enormous venue. So if you're thinking about throwing a party, a holiday party of some sort, or a birthday, whatever it is, Park Tavern can easily accommodate it for you. Check them out. 952-929-6810 or parktavern.net. Or if you just want to grab a beer at the bar and maybe see Sports Dad spinning some yarns, pressing some flesh. That's right, I'm there.
Just sitting alone, maybe even sitting alone, yelling at a TV.
Pressing some flesh. It means shaking hands.
It does mean shaking hands.
You've never heard of pressing flesh?
It is a little of a, it's a little creepy. It feels.
It's an old school term, but anyway.
It's like the word moist.
The word moist never has bugged me that much.
Clearly, because you say pressing flesh, so it would.
Yeah, pressing flesh, moist. It's all fine, but you know what's better? A visit to the Park Tavern, Louisiana Avenue South, St. Louis Park, the official sports bar of Sports Dad. I'll see you there. And you know what? Let's press some flesh with some shaking.
Let's press some flesh. Yes. Real quick, Judd texted just a little bit ago at the end of the Doogie session. It is funny if he is late in his trek to the practice facility.
Not your fault.
We were trying to get him out early, and so he might be late for Bud Grant because he wanted to tell us the 5 teams that are scouting Michigan play. That's the work ethic of Doogie right there.
Yes.
He's going to get you the 5 NBA teams scouting Michigan players at the Gophers game, and he'll be late, 5 minutes late to visit with Bud Grant because of it.
The best part is he said 5 teams, which is okay, 5 pro teams. But then he's like, but I got to go check on who those teams are.
Let's make sure that it's the Raptors.
And I was shocked. I was just going to say I was shocked to hear the Raptors. What the Raptors are doing is just incredible.
Amazing. So that's our guy, Darren Doogie Wolfson from the 5 Eyewitness News